Lisa Ramsey. I work in student engagement as well, and I mainly advise the program board, better known as SUPB. You hear more about that later. And then also student government. You'll hear more about that later as well. Glad to see all of your faces and hope you enjoyed tonight. Ask us any questions you have.
And Katie used to be a member of our office staff, and Jen, who's waving right now, is going to be a grad assistant in our office next year. So Jen and our 3 other students are really involved on campus, and they're excited to share some of their experiences with you.
Yes, so before I pass it off, I'm just going to ask anyone who is joining us that is not one of the presenters, if you can mute your microphones for now. If you have questions that come up throughout the presentation, feel free to throw it in the chat box and we will address those after. And for right now, I'm going to pass it off. First, I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm going to pass it off to Erin so that she can start talking about student government.
Can you go to the next slide? Okay, thank you. All right, hi everyone. My name is Erin Ahern, and I am currently the president of the student government. So first thing I kind of wanted to talk about is what is student government. So we're an elected group that our goal is to represent the student body. So our main goal really is to just advocate for what students want and what students have questions about. We just kind of navigate those. So for our structure, we have class senators and then we have an executive board. So each class, each undergraduate class has 6 senators and they're elected by a popular vote in November. And their main jobs are to vote on legislation, and all the legislation is to basically advocate for the student body, and then work on Senate advocacy committees. Those are on the next page, so I'll mention them later, but those are the main jobs of the senators. And then we have an executive board, which consists of the president and the executive VP. The president and executive VP kind of overlook everything in student government. The executive VP works a lot with committees, but both of those positions kind of work with everything. We have a vice president for business affairs who primarily works with the student government budget. We have a vice president for judicial affairs who works a lot with the hearing board and going through the conduct process. We have a vice president for student organizations who sits on a board to allocate funds to student organizations for events. We have a vice president for programming who you'll hear from later. She's the president of SUPB and plans a lot of the campus-wide events. And then we have a vice president for diversity, equity, and inclusion who works a lot with the university vice president to just make John Carroll as diverse and inclusive as possible and plan events to promote that. And then we have a vice president for communications who runs our social media and kind of sends out emails and messages through Inside JCU to keep the students informed of what's going on. And the last part we have is a new role, which is the chief of staff, and that person does office administration, so taking notes, taking attendance, and being built and stuff organized. So then on the next page here are our Senate advocacy committees. So we have 6 standing committees that are always part of student government, and then we have a couple that come in and out just depending on what we feel we need to work on. Next to each committee here is the chair. So their emails are there and they can answer any questions, as can I, about committees. So the first one we have is academic affairs, which works a lot with academic issues. They work a lot with the provost and on stuff like advising. We have a community relations and service committee, which works a lot with the mayor and University Heights as a whole. We have the dining committee, which works with the dining staff to address any questions or concerns about dining experiences. We have the diversity, equity, and inclusion committee, which works with student government, the vice president and student government to create cultural events and other events that will promote diversity. We have a residence life and facilities committee, and that committee works on improving all facilities around campus. So residence halls, the academic halls, the gym, stuff like that. And then we have a new committee as of this semester, and that's the sustainability committee. And their goal is just to make John Carroll's campus more sustainable and environmentally friendly. We're not sure what that's going to look like yet because it just started, but really high hopes for that committee. So how you all can get involved as incoming freshmen, hopefully, is first you can run for Senate. Like I mentioned, elections are going to be in November, and anyone can run who's a freshman. You just have to maintain a 2.7 GPA and be taking at least 6 credit hours. So that's a great way to get involved with student government. And then you can also join an advocacy committee. Advocacy committees are open to the general students, even if you aren't on student government. You could still join if you're passionate about that. So the last thing I have here is just my contact information. My email is eahern21@jcu.edu if you have any questions about student government. And then this is a link to our webpage. And then our Instagram and Twitter is @JCU Student Government. So yeah, thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Jamie Durishan. I am the president of SUPB and sit as the vice president of programming on student government. So SUPB is our student union programming board, and I put on the top of here our mission, and it is to provide students with programming that allows engagement in many diverse events that bring the John Carroll community together. So just like a little side note on here, we do so many different events. A couple events that we like to do starting in the fall. We try to go out to an Indians game for one, do a West Side Market scavenger hunt. We do bingo, and I know maybe right now that doesn't sound like an amazing event, but trust me, it is the best thing that we do on our campus. We give away huge prizes. Another thing that we do is we host our annual Welcome Back concert. This picture, I don't know if you can see it in the bottom corner, was from our exec board last year, and I'm in the picture on the side. And we had 2 friends come to our concert. You might or might not know them. It was fantastic. We're already starting to vote for this year's concert, so we're getting excited for that. One thing I wanted to talk about is getting involved. So to get involved with SUPB, you can become a team member right when you join us in the fall at John Carroll. A big thing that we do is we meet every single week on Tuesday nights, pretty late night, but that's usually when everybody has a free time. So what we do is we want you guys to come in and help us for our exec board. And we want you to help us plan and create different events that you want to see on campus. So if we're doing a bingo event, we want to know what kind of food do you want to have there? What can we get that you think students will come to? So it's a big thing for us. And then eventually, if you want to, you can join the exec board later in January or so, right before spring semester. It's a great opportunity to get involved on campus. I have been involved for 2 years. Lisa, who is on here, who said hello earlier, she is my advisor and truly one of the best faculty at John Carroll, not to shame anyone who else is here, but just saying that is so far. So the last thing I wanted to do with you guys is we thought of doing a game with all the students that are on here, and it looks like there are quite a few who are in here right now. So one thing we want to do is, if you go and follow our Instagram page at JCU_SUPB. Later tonight, I will be going through all the new followers and picking one follower to win a gift card, and we will get your email address and send it right to you later, probably tomorrow. And then another thing is the JCU scavenger hunt game that we thought of yesterday in our meeting. So I figured what we could do is, I truly cannot see everybody right now, but if you can find from admissions the cowbell that you got and bring it to the camera and be the first person to ring it, I will write your email down so you can also win a gift card. So if anyone wants to do that right now.
I think Kendra has hers in her hand right now.
Do you, Kendra?
Yes.
Yeah, so does Christopher.
Hello. I actually had this thing just right on the other side of my glasses, so.
It looks like a tie.
All right.
Tie.
So if you guys could, can you put your email addresses, like your John Carroll email, whatever email you use, into the chat function? And then I will write those down so you will both be able to get the gift card.
All right.
and also just go and follow the Instagram too for anybody who did not get to get their cowbell fast enough. You will be able to also get a gift card potentially. And the last thing I have on here real quick is my email address. If you guys have any questions at all, things to get involved with on John Carroll, more about SUPB and what we do, feel free to reach out to me. My email is always open and I answer pretty quickly. So that's it.
All right, so I am the Vice President of Student Organizations here at John Carroll. So I'm one of these exec members of student government. So I'm just going to talk about a few things real quick. We have around 90 student organizations that are on John Carroll's campus, and we have multiple different types of student organizations. So we have academic, service, Greek, religious, and cultural organizations. Groups typically recruit members in early fall. You'll see a lot of rushing into Greek or sorority or fraternities in the fall. And we offer a lot of financial support for these organizations. One of the routes that a lot of student orgs will take if they want to fund an event or if they want some help funding their student org operationally, they'll go into SOB and they'll present to SOB, which I'm also the chair of SOB. SOB is called the Student Organization Budgeting Board. And so if student orgs need a little bit more money, they can always present to that. And basically, a lot of that funding comes from our, can you hear me? Okay. A lot of that funding comes from the SAF, which is our student activity fee. So you definitely want to get involved in those student organizations. The student orgs are very awesome. The communities that they bring together are amazing. They're very inclusive with people. Don't be afraid to reach out. There's definitely a lot. And if you happen to find a student organization that's on another campus that isn't at John Carroll, you can start that organization. If you think that out of the 90 student orgs that we do have, that there's something missing, you can start one. And that is also a little bit of a process through SOB, but it's easy and it's honestly pretty fun to do. But you should definitely join a student organization at John Carroll. For instance, I was involved in improv. Improv is basically just, well, it's in the name. I mean, it's improvisation of like jokes, and like you pretty much act out a story and you kind of try to make it funny, and it's amazing. I had a great experience with improv. I got a little busy, so I had to stop being involved with improv, but I would definitely join again after this semester ends. So now I'm going to pass it over to Jen Patterson.
Hi guys, my name is Jen Patterson. Kyle introduced me a little bit earlier, but I am a senior, and next year I will be the graduate assistant for one of the graduate assistants for the Office of Student Engagement, where they focus on leadership, commuter services, or commuter programs, and new student orientation. So I will see you guys in June for orientation, but for right now I'm going to talk about the leadership programs available at John Carroll. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Leadership Formation Series. This is a set of 4 different tiers. Each tier is a semester long. It's normally 6 weeks, 1 hour per week, and there's different focuses for each tier. So you'll go, one's focused on the Strengths Finder, one's more like situational, one's ethical, and I forget what the other one is, but they really have a lot of focus on different aspects of leadership. They're amazing. I've met some of my really close friends now through those different tiers. The next thing I want to talk about is the Strengths Finder. Every incoming student will take the Strengths Finder. It has been amazing to see my strengths throughout the last 4 years, and you talk about them, you reflect on them. you really see them come alive in your everyday life. So that's one of my favorite things about the leadership program. The next thing is the leadership minor. I myself am a leadership development minor. It's really simple to complete. Kyle did it, made it very strategic. So a lot of the classes that you take will also count as your core classes. So if you're interested in that, make sure you talk to your advisor when you're scheduling classes about that, so you can schedule the proper classes. And the other thing I want to talk about is leadership positions. So there's a leadership coach coaches available. That's a leadership position. There's definitely a lot of Jamie, Aaron, and Jason all have leadership positions throughout campus. There's so many different opportunities. And if you have any questions about those, definitely email leadership@jcu.edu. And the last thing that I want to talk about is why to take advantage of the leadership education and development at JCU. So you really learn so many different things about it. It makes you a very well-rounded person. It makes you aware of not only yourself, but other people, and just the opportunities that are available for you are awesome. I would not have some of the positions that I have today if it wasn't for starting the tier program my first semester at John Carroll. So that's about the leadership programs.
So just talk a little bit about the timeline of how to get involved. One great thing is that you can jump right in as soon as you come to campus, literally. So Streak Week is our 5-day fall orientation that starts with move-in day. It's for all first-year students. So orientation, in the summer, we try to have small groups, about 110 students. Streak Week is 5 days of a lot of social activities planned by SUPB and Lisa's group. There's usually a hypnotist involved, some trips through Cleveland for all students, residential and commuter, and that's a really great start to the year. Jamie alluded to the Welcome Back concert, which is always a ton of fun. That will happen, I think, the first Friday of classes this year before Labor Day weekend. And then Jason made an allusion to the Student Involvement Fair, which usually is the Friday after Labor Day, where all 90+ student organizations and club sports, they're there trying to recruit new members. I know a lot of you are really involved in high school. My suggestion to all freshmen is, maybe try 2 or 3 different things as you start to figure out who you are and what your passions are. And that Student Involvement Fair is just a ton of fun. Probably close to 80 to 85% of the freshmen come to that. So you'll see plenty of advertising once you're there. The leadership formation tiers that Jen talked about, you'll get a ton of communication in October. Those programs start after fall break and go for 6 weeks. And then November is when you see the leadership selection processes start. So Aaron made allusion to the elections for our student government. That's November. And 2 of our, I guess, more popular leadership positions, being an RA, a resident assistant in the residence halls, and being an orientation leader, they also start their selection processes in November. So we want you to feel like you can jump right in and kind of continue the leadership, passion, and involvement you've shown in high school. One unusual thing about John Carroll is our leadership positions, a lot of them start in January. So the student government positions all start in January. A lot of the club presidents, they start their positions in January. So you'll get a chance to be a member and kind of take things in and then decide whether or not you're going to go for a leadership position. So at this point, what questions does anyone have about any kind of involvement? I think the 7 John Carroll people here can respond to almost any question with a decent response. And if not, we can find out the answer for you. So if you want to just use the chat feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen, please feel free to send in a question.
Something I would start with is maybe Jamie, Jason, Aaron, Jen, what was something you got involved with at John Carroll that you would have never expected you'd have gotten involved with when you were in high school?
I can go. I would have never expected myself to get involved with student government, honestly, because I was never in student council in high school, but I just joined as a senator and absolutely loved it. And now I'm the president. So everyone can definitely find something, even if you think it might not be the best thing right away. You'll find something.
I guess I'll go next. Definitely improv club. I'm not extremely an extroverted person, and improv club kind of forced me to get out of my comfort zone. And that led into a lot of other leadership positions. For instance, I'm also a resident assistant at John Carroll. And I honestly probably would not have done that and reached for that if it wasn't for getting outside of my comfort zone with improv.
So, Jason, a question that came from Eva is, do RA positions receive reduced housing fees?
Yeah, so RA positions do receive reduced housing fees. It's not the entire cost. However, it is a significant amount.
Yeah, I think it's close to 90%.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then Mia asked, what are some of your favorite organizations at JCU? And another similar question came from Alex, which was, what are some of the most popular organizations at JCU?
So some student orgs that immediately pop to my mind, honestly, would be Oz for Paws. I know Erin Hearn, she's the president of Oz for Paws. I love Oz for Paws. They bring puppies and dogs in for like high stress weeks. I know that there's a lot of cultural orgs here, and I love LASA. They do a ton of things for the community at John Carroll. They provide a lot of events. Like Noche Latina, or I think it might be called Viva la Noche, but it's basically a big dance that they have, and everyone has a great time, and you really immerse yourself in a culture that you wouldn't have immersed yourself in otherwise.
Yeah. Erin, what does the election process look like?
For student government, okay, so the election process, the first, I think it's like either that right after fall break, towards the end of October, there will be some postings about, are you interested in student government? And there are some information sessions. And then you basically sign up to run. You have to submit like a picture and just a brief paragraph of why you're interested in student government. And then there will be a meeting for everyone who's interested, basically just giving the guidelines of how you can advertise your campaign. A lot of people just make flyers and hang them up in the residence halls, telling their friends, social media type campaigns. So there's usually about a week of campaigning, and then everybody on one day will get a link to vote, and it's online.
John Carroll has a really awesome way of communicating with students via email. Daily, you'll get an email called Inside JCU with all of the information on it about things that are going on campus, and that's where they typically advertise any of the elections going on. A really awesome question coming from Emily. She wants to know, how do you manage your time between classes and your leadership positions? Jamie, you want to take that one?
Yes, I will take that one. I can actually speak of this even right now that we're doing classes currently online. Even though it might seem like classes might be a little bit easier that we're online, I'm still like doing my position currently. I mean, all day, every day, I'm working on other different things, so I'm not just sitting around the house. During the actual school year, it is pretty easy to balance. Like Erin mentioned, with my position, I am part of student government. So we have like office hours that we fulfill. And as an exec member, I do 6 a week. And that might sound like a lot, but in all honesty, it really helps me like keep going with my workload. And especially with like leadership positions at John Carroll, you're not alone whatsoever. You most likely are sitting with an exec board. You have an advisor. For me, I meet with my advisor every single week. I'm still meeting with my advisor every single week for my leadership position to keep working. But overall, I can honestly say that it is worth it. It's not too much work. You're not going to be overworked, but it truly is worth being a part of any type of leadership position at John Carroll.
Thanks, Jamie. So some questions that I've been getting as well. Are there any art-related orgs at John Carroll, and what about music clubs?
Yeah, there are some art-related orgs. There's literally an org called Creative Arts Club. I don't know too much about it, but what was the other part of the question?
Arts and music.
Music. Okay, yeah, we also have I think a pep band, and we have a jazz band on campus. I almost got involved with that. I was involved heavily with band in high school, but I was just a little too busy for those opportunities.
Kyle, do you want to jump in on music?
Yeah, we also have some a cappella groups on campus. We have an all-female group, an all-male group, and a co-ed group. So they'll hold their auditions right after the involvement fair. So there's a chance to sign up for that. As Jason mentioned, we have a pep band, we have a jazz band, we have a really big and growing wind ensemble. In terms of singing, you can be part of the chapel ensemble, which is really big at the Sunday night mass. And if you really love to sing, you can be a cantor at the masses. And we also have some theater productions if you wanted to perform that way as well.
Thank you. Kaylee mentioned that her mom is a JCU alum, and she talked about Friday night socials with a DJ or live music. Jamie, do you want to talk about different like socials and music events that SUPB does?
Yeah, sure. So I guess one thing I did neglect to mention earlier is that these SUPB events are every single weekend while we are at John Carroll. We have them ranging from Thursday night to Friday and Saturday nights. There's usually 2 or 3 different things going on each day as well. It's a lot of fun. You can find things that you're interested in. We have off-campus events, which are very popular. Like I said earlier, going to Indians games and West Side Market. And then we also do a lot of different things with student organizations. So like what was already mentioned, doing like an arts club, I already have planned on the calendar doing something with the Creative Arts Club so we can do like a paint and mocktail sip night. We just have a lot of different things that we like to offer for every part of the weekend. So there's something out there for everybody.
And Jen, as an athlete, how are you able to balance being a student, being an athlete, and being involved in leadership positions?
Yeah, great question, Katie. So at John Carroll, Kyle mentioned earlier how he suggested getting involved in 2 or 3 things during the student involvement fair. And I think I remember him giving me that, or giving the incoming students that piece of advice 4 years ago. And I listened to it because in high school, I was very actively involved. I was in 4 or 5 different clubs. I did a sport every season, and I was obviously going to school. So I was definitely heavily involved, and I still wanted to be involved at John Carroll, but I had to be more selective about what I was going to be involved with. So as an athlete, we have practice, I played softball. So as a spring sport, like you still have practice in the fall and in the winter. So you really have to find your 2 or 3 interests and stick to those so you can have time to spend with your friends and have fun and take care of yourself and focus on school and get good grades and that sorts of stuff. So it's definitely manageable. But when you guys are coming in as incoming or coming in this fall, just make sure you find your 2 or 3 things that you're really passionate about and stick to those so you don't be too overwhelmed.
Great. Another question that I'm sure is a popular one, any esports, video game, or anime clubs? So Jason?
Yeah, there's a gaming club, and that kind of encompasses, I want to say all 3 of those, but they do a little bit of video gaming, they do some esports, and I don't know about anime clubs. I'm not sure. I don't think I can really speak to that. I'm not really sure. But they also do like board games. They had a charity last semester. Basically, the president of their club, he hosted a stream on Twitch and raised money for, I forget the charity, but they raised money, and basically people donated to him to keep playing for, I think it was like a 72-hour or 48-hour period. I could be wrong on that, but it was a very successful Twitch stream.
I will also add that during this stay-at-home order, esports has been created by our recreation department, and I think it has been a popular request. So I anticipate that that might be something that stays during the fall, or maybe even during school breaks. Kaylee asked if freshmen can be student ambassadors for open houses. Kaylee, that's a great question. I'm going to take that one. The tour guide positions are through the Office of Admission, and tour guides are only sophomores, juniors, and seniors. However, first year students can get involved as Blue Streak ambassadors, and those are students who do help out at open houses. They help out at larger scale events. So great question. I also saw a question about, so Lakin created a nonprofit organization at home and wants to know if there are ways to carry that over to the JCU campus and serve in the Cleveland area. So there's definitely a lot of service opportunities at John Carroll. In terms of bringing your nonprofit over, that would be a question for the fall when you do get to campus, and how to potentially create a service opportunity for that here. Kaylee asked, is there an auxiliary at JCU or just pep band? Kyle?
I don't think there are any kind of flag twirlers or gun like the rifles that they use in auxiliary currently. I would suggest that would be something if you have loved doing that in high school. As Jason mentioned, you can go ahead and try to get something started. I don't think that the pep band would mind at all to have those type of performances as well as football games. But that would be one that you'd probably have to look at starting yourself based on what we have.
Definitely. Okay, really cool question from Zach. If you sign up for clubs or if you miss involvement fair, is there another way to get involved later in the year?
All right, so I'll speak to that a little bit. I actually got involved with improv after Streak Week and the sign-up day. I'm sorry, I forget the name of it, but basically I had some friends that were in it and they invited me to go into it, and I had a great time. You can sign into, not sign in, but you can get involved with most student organizations at any point in the year. They would love to have a bigger community.
Yeah. I will also say that there is usually a mini involvement fair that happens both semesters shortly after the regular involvement fair happens. And if you have a club that you're interested in, all of that information is listed on the John Carroll website. So you can always contact the student organization's president to get more information about joining the group. You will never be turned down midway through. I've two similar, I'm sorry?
Katie, can I just add one thing too about that?
Yeah.
So coming, just to let you know, all of you know that what's coming for the fall too, it's brand new for us. We're going to be rolling out it's an online engagement platform. It's called Presence, but it's going to have a brand new name. But just to let you know, all the organizations will be up there, and it'll be a really cool electronic way to reach out to clubs and organizations and contact folks directly, and then join that way too. So look for that.
Very cool. Thank you, Lisa. A question that, how popular is Greek life and when do students rush?
Ooh, I can answer that one.
Take it away, Jamie.
Sorry, I got really excited. I am actually a part of Greek life. We don't necessarily call it rushing. We just don't necessarily like to stick with that term, but we do our recruitment in the fall. It is within the first, I think, 2 or 3 weeks into the school year is when we do recruitment. I wouldn't necessarily say that it is hugely popular at John Carroll, but it is a great community to be a part of. Like I said, I am a part of it, and it has given me so many different opportunities being a part of it. And I actually will be a part of recruitment this year and be a recruitment counselor. So it's a lot of fun if you want to get involved. And yes, there are about 500 students on campus that are involved in Greek life.
Okay, so what events happen during Streak Week? Kyle?
Lisa, why don't you touch on the big social events first?
Sure. So one of the very first things we offer is a hypnotist. And so all 700 to 800 of you are in a room, and there's a hypnotist that's just really fun that comes back every year, just loves John Carroll. We also have what's called a graffiti party, where folks get to write on each other's shirts and have spread messages. We also have this really cool thing in that we serve a banana split in a canoe, which is you just have to see it. And there's a couple other things we're adding to that, but I won't reveal it right now. What else? Jamie, you take it from here in terms of Streak Week.
Okay, I guess I will take it from here from Lisa.
Do you want me to add something?
Yes, because
Okay.
I am on my toes.
So one of the big days of Streak Week is called Living the Mission Day. When you sign up for orientation, you'll rank your 3 choices. And it's a way for all of our freshmen and a lot of older student volunteers and faculty and staff to get engaged in some aspect of our mission, either leadership or learning or service. So that's something that we have about 96% of the students participate, so that's really cool. We also have a Cleveland night out on the Saturday of Streak Week. Historically, we've taken students to Indians games, down to Blossom to hear the Cleveland Orchestra while a movie show's on the screen, Tower City Cinemas, Little Italy. So as I mentioned, it's a lot of fun things. And we also work in some more meaningful kind of educational activities, including a big new student convocation where you'll see all of our faculty in their robes like you would wear at graduation. And it's kind of our official welcome. So we definitely keep you busy, especially Wednesday through Saturday, but we also give you some downtime to get to know the other new students.
So kind of switching gears, it might be intimidating for some students to approach clubs to join them. Does somebody maybe want to talk about what it looks like walking into the involvement fair and how to overcome that anxiety about joining a club?
Sure, I can talk about it. You walk into our big intramural gym. WJCU is our radio station. They're blasting music. There's about 90 tables spread out through a really big gym space. It's usually really hot, to be honest. Every table has a different organization, usually with the trifold, a few of the members. They're going to be very eager to see you, but a lot of them are pretty chill and pretty relaxed. If you go in there and you walk around and you feel a little overwhelmed, no big deal. As Lisa mentioned, we're going to be starting this new online platform. Also, what happens a lot at John Carroll is you'll meet some people in class, or you'll meet some people in the CAF or in your residence hall, and you'll find out that they're a member of the finance club, or you'll find out that they're a part of our Black Students in Action, and you'll join along with them. So if you don't get involved right off the bat at that big involvement fair, as Jason mentioned, his friend kind of invited him to join the improv club because
Looks like he glitched out. Can I just add one thing while he's glitching out? What I would also add is that this is your time. The cool thing about John Carroll is that you don't have to have a prerequisite for involvement. You know, with certain classes, you have to take the first class before you take the second in the series. For involvement, it's all a blank slate, and you're coming to John Carroll. No matter if you've been involved with 50 clubs in high school or none, it's all equal. Like you could just start. And so I just would encourage you. You're all in the same boat. You're all brand new. You know, just go in there, take a risk. You know, get out of your comfort zone a little bit, and I think you'll be really happy that you did. So that's just my piece of advice in terms of the involvement fair or just involvement in at John Carroll in any way.
The other thing that I'll add to that too is all the people that want you to get involved in their clubs were in your same position just a couple years ago. So they know that you may be feeling a certain way, but they're so eager to meet you and welcome you to the John Carroll community. So that's one thing that, like, kind of made me more relaxed and less stressed when I was going to try to get involved in many different clubs. Is they want you, they're trying to sell you to get involved in their clubs. So I think that's something that is helpful too.
Yes, I will add on to Jen. I would almost say that the clubs are as nervous, if not a little more nervous than you, because they are just hoping to get people to join them. So they have their sign-up sheets out there, and they're hoping to get a couple signatures or a lot of signatures, whatever it might be. But they're so nervous because they don't know if anyone's interested in their club. So just know that the feelings are mutual, and you'll see it's just such a welcoming atmosphere when you walk into the intramural gym that day, that they are going to welcome you with open arms. David wants to know, what is the process of creating a new club? So if there's a club that you're interested in and it doesn't exist, how do you go about creating that?
So I'll speak to that. If you want to create a student organization, like let's say a car club, you need to have an advisor who is a full-time member of the JCU faculty, which the JCU faculty at John Carroll, it's repetitive, they are so kind and nice, and a lot of them would love to be an advisor to any student organization club, especially as you're in your classes. You'll find that a lot of John Carroll staff, faculty, they will kind of let you know like that they're interested in other things other than the course you're teaching about. So if you happen to find, let's say, a professor that loves cars, then obviously just like approach him and ask, hey, can you be an advisor for this club I'm thinking about creating? After that, you pretty much just need to have a roster of at least 10 active members or people who are showing interest in joining your car club. And you need to decide who your president will be and your financial officer will be. After that, there's a little bit of a petitioning process. And part of that is petitioning to SOB, that Student Organization Budget Board that I mentioned earlier. And that process it's very simple, it's very relaxed, it's very easy to get through. Yeah.
And one of our listeners noted that Dr. Nagy, a professor in accounting, loves racing. So David, if you are interested in a car club, he might be your guy. A few questions that came up earlier that I missed, and I'm kind of going to group these together. Are there student worker jobs on campus? And what leadership positions are there in the Office of Admission beyond being a tour guide? So yes, there are student worker jobs on campus. You will find them in nearly every office on campus, including the tour guide job, leadership position, being an RA. Those are all jobs that you could get on campus, including working at a front desk in an office, being a driver of one of the service vans in the Center for Service and Social Action. But also, to answer Luke's question, another leadership position in admission is in our call center. And what that looks like is reaching out to interested students and encouraging them to visit John Carroll, writing them notes to let them know that we're thinking of them, following up with them after their visits to make sure that they were up to their standards. And that is a position that you could get involved with in your first year at John Carroll. And some students kind of prefer that to being a tour guide.
Can I add to the job question?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just want to let everyone know, like, it is so easy to find something. I currently have 3 jobs outside of student government. I work at the recreation department, I work in the Center for Service and Social Action, and then I do research in the psychology department. So there are so many opportunities in your department and really in any department at John Carroll. There are so many job opportunities.
Also, to add to Erin's point too, is there's like different levels of jobs. So I work at the Center for Career Services, and I work 10 hours a week. Some positions at the rec desk work 2 to 4 hours a week. So there's a job for everyone. If you want to work more, there's opportunities for you to work more hours, and there's also opportunities for you to work less hours too. So that's definitely one way to get involved on campus as well.
So I want to be mindful of everyone's time. It is 8:17. I know we were wrapping up at 8:15. Thank you all so much for joining us, students and participants, and Lisa and Kyle. Thank you all for being here and speaking. We will be here a little bit longer if anybody has any questions. And then check the chat. Jamie mentioned, don't forget to follow the SUPB Instagram. It's at JCU_SUPB. And that's for your chance to win a gift card. Kyle mentioned the leadership Instagram at John Carroll Leadership. Thank you, Emily, for being here. Everybody, be sure to join us on Celebration Day on Saturday. There will be even more fun opportunities for you. And if you want to meet anyone or you saw someone that looked really fun to talk to, feel free to share your email addresses or connect on the Class of 2024 Facebook group as well. But thank you, everyone. Oh, John Carroll Student Government at JCU Student Gov.
Also follow JCU Orientation. It's a new Instagram platform too. So go follow them for all your orientation questions, needs, and information.